Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another day of the Regeneration Marathon. This is day 15, and we have a big one. It is the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who. We're talking about the sort of middle section of the Doctor trilogy. It is Day of the Doctor. Once again, as ever, he's not regenerated. I think it's Luke still.
Yes, just about. I'm clinging on here. I'm clinging on to the bottom of the TARDIS as it's flown over London, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, is it a trilogy or is it sort of a quadrilogy? Because obviously you got Night of the Doctor as well.
Wow, that's another kettle of fish.
Yeah, we talked about that particular minisode yesterday. If you wish to go back and check that one out, cheeky little plug there for another episode of the Advent calendar here. But yeah, today it is Day of the Doctor. We're not quite this far ahead timeline-wise yet because we're doing this from the War Doctor's perspective, aren't we? That's how we've able to work this in here because he does regenerate pretty quickly. Well, half regenerate. We don't see the end result, but we see a familiar face start to emerge in the orange glow, don't we? And yeah, and then tomorrow we shall be returning to the regular schedule, so to speak, with Bad Wolf and Parting of the Ways. But yeah, Day of the Doctor. This is one you've been particularly excited about, isn't it? You're a huge Day of the Doctor fan.
Yes, for sure.
I mean, take it away with telling us not necessarily why in a review sense, but why in like a what it means to you sense.
I think for me, it was peak Doctor Who fandom for me, I want to say. Like, I think that was when I was so engrossed in the world of Doctor Who. Like, the day the episode aired, me and my mates all went round to my house and we watched the 3 Doctors, 5 Doctors. We had like a nice little Doctor Who party, then going to see it in the cinema was just a massive event. And, like, it's my dad's possible favorite episode alongside Genesis. Like, it's just one episode we're like, oh man, what an episode that is. And every Christmas we sort of sit down and we watch Day of the Doctor. It's an occasion for us watching it.
So I remember when we were arranging to record this, we originally said, could we do it a couple of days ago? And then your dad found out you were going to watch it and said, could you do it the next day instead?
Yeah, so any opportunity is like we'll watch it. It's great.
Yeah.
So I've got a big soft spot for it, really, and it just gives me the warm, fuzzy feels inside. I did get a bit emotional watching it because I was just I sort of get taken back to watching it the first time.
That's fair.
And back in that room, I just like this. It just made me go, "This is why I love Doctor Who." It's great.
I mean, would you say that was around the time your channel was first starting to blow up a bit more as well?
I guess so. I guess that's when it sort of became more aware, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's what 2013 is when I probably clicked into it all, really.
Yeah. I mean, certainly like around 2014 was where we all started to really get together, wasn't it, as a group?
Yeah.
Where a lot of connections were made that have lasted quite a long time, given that me and you are still chatting on here about Doctor Who.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for me, 2013 was when I started to click back in with Doctor Who. I was still watching it live, but I wouldn't have really called myself a huge fan of it until around... Yeah, I'm not sure what it was, but over that summer, I suppose, just with the hype of the 60th going on, 50th. You obviously had 50th. Sorry,
you jump in a gun.
Yeah, what?
It's that thing because like the 60th's on your mind right now, and we're casting.
Yeah, we're so hyped for it that it just becomes wired in to say 60th instead of 50th. But yeah, with the 50th year, I suppose just so much going on. You had like Classic Who going on Watch, wasn't it?
Yeah, on Horror, wasn't it? I think.
Horror was later.
Okay.
Watch, it was sort of like that Classic Doctors Revisit, or like they were doing a story from each Doctor.
Yeah.
And I think, and then with the 9th and the 10th as well, they had one. I think the 11th too, and it was sort of like that and a little half-hour documentary.
Yeah, we did that in
Uh,
America, but I don't know if we got it over
yeah,
here.
I think
But
yeah, we did get over here on Watch was where it ended up. I'm pretty sure.
yeah,
I
because
mean,
like they're on the Blu-ray sets, aren't they? The Doctors Revisited when you get a Doctor.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they are definitely very American in style. But yeah, quick little half-hour things. But yeah, that's certainly one memory. And yeah, I mean, it was when my DVD collection really started to grow a lot as well. Yeah, something just clicked and I was getting back into Doctor Who. So that's my main memory from that time, really. But yeah, 30th of March 2013 was when the cast for this special was announced. So that was when we got David Tennant and Billy Piper announced to return alongside John Hurt in a undisclosed role at the time. Uh, but obviously, we found out later on at the end of Name of the Doctor who he was playing. But yeah, 30th of March was also the day that Bells of St. John went out. So
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
funny little fact there.
yeah, good day to be a Doctor Who fan. John Hurt himself didn't actually have to audition for the role. He was just offered it and then apparently very quickly got back in touch with an enthusiastic yes.
Yeah, because he was like, "It's a cult, isn't it?"
He's got to join the cult.
Oh, it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that sort of came around because of a situation involving Christopher Eccleston, didn't it? Where he was invited to return, and I think it just didn't really work out in the end. I mean, I don't think Moffat himself held out much hope for it
No,
anyway, but sort of did it as a just in case, and I suppose also as a way of it's sort of like manners towards Christopher Eccleston, isn't it? Like you've at least got to ask him.
yeah, and I think in the nicest possible way, it was probably the only shot we had for Chris coming back on telly.
Yeah. I mean, apparently he came maybe closer than he expected to. But I think one of the
Yeah.
things Chris wanted was a director from his era to come back. I think it's Joe Ahern, isn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah. But instead we got, is it Nick Curran who?
Yeah, Nick Aaron. Yeah,
Yeah. He also did he's done some Doctor Who before this, and along with some Sherlock as well.
which you
So certainly
definitely see in the style of this episode, Sherlock.
yeah, he's certainly one who's well acquainted with Moffat's style, isn't he?
Yes.
And sort of one to really get Moffat's vision across the finishing line. Yeah, but yeah. I mean, Eccleston did end up turning up in this though through archive footage for my next trip,
Yeah, it was nice. It was
along,
nice to have that. Nice bit of clever reuse.
along with some other doctors, including the first Doctor, voiced by John Gullier, isn't it?
Yeah, he did the Planet of Giants episode 4 recon.
Hmm. Yeah, and so you got to hear the first Doctor say Gallifrey, which it's sort of weird in hindsight seeing that because now we're sort of accepting of the idea of David Bradley just playing the first Doctor on screen.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he's done Twice Upon a Time and Power of the Doctor now. And so it's sort of odd thinking back that, he was cast at this time. He'd done An Adventure in Space and Time. Surely it wouldn't have been too difficult to get him to do the little cameo there. But yeah, I suppose. I feel like at that time with David Bradley, his first Doctor wasn't at the height it is at now, like in terms of performance, because he was very much just playing William Hartnell, really.
Yes.
And it certainly shows in some of those, like they did short little recreations of clips, didn't they?
Yeah, for Adventure Space and
And
Time.
yeah, and they just feel a bit off. But I suppose at the same time, they feel a bit off to us because we know those lines and how they're meant to be said. Whereas when he's given original line, yeah, like in Big Finish, in Twice Upon a Time, and Power of the Doctor, that's when it throws you off a little bit less. But yeah, anyway, this isn't the David Bradley episode. This is Day of the Doctor. So, yeah, I mean, have you got any other little trivia facts to throw at us?
We did mention it's the first 3D canonical episode.
Yes, we had a little discussion about that before working out where it was.
Sorry, Dimensions in Time.
Yeah. Well, first one that's not a mini episode, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, that's better to put it.
Yeah. And I mean, Was it the first one to be released in cinema as well?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, because certainly it's something they went on. They did it with Deep Breath, didn't they? Later on.
Yeah, they followed that trend.
Hmm.
Because they did like an exclusive Q&A after the episode
Yeah.
aired. Because you had like special intros for the cinema
With
with
the
Strax.
Strax. Yeah.
And then you have 10th and 11th Doctor doing little intros about for like now in 600D. And this is like the 100th anniversary special, like stuff
Hmm.
like that, like very Moffat-y jokes.
It's weird looking at the how some of the humor's aged. Like there's
Yeah,
that whole thing about hashtags where they
yeah,
like this
LOL.
hashtag save the day.
Yes.
Yeah, and it feels so cringe looking back now. And it's
Oh.
funny just how I mean no one really uses hashtags now. They're sort of there, but you don't actually think about them as much, do you?
They're there if you want more clout.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm probably guilty of using a few, so there we go.
Yeah, you just called yourself out. I mean, I'm exactly the same,
Yeah,
so it's fine.
yeah. But like they're not on the mind when you use it, aren't they? They're just sort of there, really.
No, it was all like on clothing, wasn't it? Hashtags and yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
and like, yeah,
They were more a thing of themselves rather than just a little feature,
yes,
is the way to put it. But yeah, certainly they were going big on that of hashtag save the day, weren't they? I mean, Moffat certainly had a bit of a problem with Twitter, didn't he? 'Cause there's that joke in is it Bells of St. John? I can't.
yeah. I think the whole Matt Smith era is very anti-Twitter.
Yeah, which is in the same episode where Clara's also saying that she doesn't know what the internet is.
Yeah,
So it's
this is
interesting.
this is the thing with Clara. If the story wants Clara to be something, Clara will be that.
Yeah.
And
So
you definitely get
right,
it in Day, like a
yeah,
teacher in Coal Hill, and
it's like
can ride a bike.
hmm, very much just there for the connection back to the 60s, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, having an school teacher at Coal Hill as a companion.
That's another bit of trivia actually. On the school sign, it says W. Coburn, and that's a
Ah, yeah.
reference to Anthony Coburn and Wallace Hussein.
I mean, that whole little opening is a homage to
Yeah,
an event, an unearthly child, isn't it? The
yeah,
opening there. Yeah, and you've even got the first Doctor titles
yeah,
used for the first time since 66 or 67 is. Yeah, 67, I think.
yeah,
Yeah, it would have been phased out.
yeah. And you've got nice little Easter eggs about the clock being like 5:15
Hmm.
when Clara leaves school, which seems very late to be. Well,
Yeah, especially when it's still daylight in
yeah,
November. I mean, is it set in November?
I think we just naturally assume it's November because that's when it aired.
Yeah. I
Don't
mean, in
know.
the Doctor Who universe, it does seem like it's daylight at that time in November because you've also got Remembrance of the Daleks, where Ace leaves the house and, an adventure in a new science fiction series, Doctor, and, they mention it's 5:15 there
Yeah,
when, you know, it's daylight out. So obviously, something interesting going on there.
yeah. It must be light in winter
Yeah.
in the Who world.
Yeah. They don't set their clocks back. That's what it is.
Nah, see, they've got the right idea.
I mean, we're currently suffering from that, aren't we now?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, the evenings are very much crawling in. Yeah, whereas when we started this series, it wasn't even the longest day yet.
No.
Yeah, we were still in the build up to that. Wow, how time flies. Yeah. Would you like to take it away with the synopsis now?
I will try my best with the timey-wiminess of this story.
Go for it. Good luck.
Thank you. So
I'll chip in where sorry, I've already chipped in and interrupted you. I'll chip in where I can to lend a hand.
So we've already mentioned that we have the Hartnell intro. Very nice, very cool. And
With
then
the
we
BBC
have
logo thrown on it as well, wasn't it?
very Yeah, gotta claim that property.
Mm.
So we have Clara at Coal Hill, with talking about what a good man should be, how that will bite her on the ass next series
Isn't
with
that
Cavalsi.
Nicola Bryant?
Well,
Are we getting the companions mixed up a bit here?
I'm no Kevin McNally, uh, you know, so it's fine. Where Clara gets a phone call from her doctor,
Mm.
to go and see him. So off she goes on her bike, and a lot of reused music, even though the 50th had a new score all done on the soundtracks. Yet we have a lot of throwback music to New Who.
Yeah. I wonder if this is the most use of I Am the Doctor in a single story or a single episode.
I mean, I forget how good that bit of music is.
It is a nice bit of music, but yeah, certainly it gets to a point where you're like, can it stop playing, please? I've heard it enough times.
You can never have enough of that.
Oh, agree to disagree.
Lives rent free in my head.
It gets me more when I rewatch Series 5.
Just you wait when we get to 11th hour and you get that nice moment with the Atraxi, you'll be fist pumping in the air.
Mm. It works there. Anyway, go on.
I shall. So we have the TARDIS somewhere in Wales, probably. So we get a nice little homage to the TV movie. Clara goes in, and the TARDIS gets picked up by UNIT and taken to London, where there's been sort of Elizabeth's credentials have been left behind in the National Gallery, where we have a painting of Gallifrey Falls, where we are introduced back to the War Doctor, as we have the War Doctor writing "No More" and
That
stealing.
is a very nice scene, how it like transitions into that.
Mm,
Like the
very
use of the
good.
Dalek theme there. Speaking of reusing music, it does suit it very well.
Very good.
Uh,
So
and
we,
so that you can see the budget being thrown at it a bit more.
oh, absolutely, like the whole Time War bit, great with like like the bronze Daleks look so scuffed up within it, and so like very Destiny looking within it. Like they don't look like they are the bronze Daleks, but they probably
They
are.
do look, yeah, they got covered in dust, don't they?
Yeah,
Those
they're
runs
full of
down in the
ash.
trenches. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the best the Time War gets in this. Like, there's a real sense of excitement of seeing it for the first time, isn't there? Seeing that
Mm,
scale of the battle with all the Dalek ships in orbit.
it is
Uh,
great. It is wonderful. So yeah, after that we have the War Doctor carving a message of "No More" and flies off and takes the moment from the Omega Arsenal, which I think is quite cool. And we get a nice little bit of exposition about what the moment is.
and there's also a reference to End of Time there, isn't there? When they're talking about the High Council having their own plans. So it's sort of taking place more or less concurrently with the Rassilon half of that special, which we will get to in a couple of days, actually.
Yeah, not far out really for that. So we have one of the unit scientists getting a phone call. I think it's Macmillan.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And this feels like a very Moffat thing, and then you're sort of just left going, okay, when like it's making out that he's a bit of a bad guy, like what's going on, but it's good subversion.
If anything, I think in terms of subversion, it makes it more seem like it's going to be a Zygon, because we know Zygons are in it, and he says the line about how, but I was just talking to you, doesn't he?
Yeah,
And then yeah. Also, it's definitely Macmillan because he's Scottish.
gotta be.
That's how you know. But yeah, I mean, it'll all be revealed in time what that actually is.
Yes. So we are greeted with Elizabeth's actual credentials with a portrait of the 10th Doctor himself and Good Queen Bess,
Yeah.
leading to a flashback with good old Picnic and detecting the Zygon going, you wouldn't actually marry me because, history and all that. But no, the horse is a Zygon, so we get a nice little bit of a mad run around. I forgot the barn scene, but it's okay. We're introduced to the moment.
Yeah.
Opens a fissure into the Doctor's future, which is a Fez appears. we'll get back to the Fez in a minute.
Yeah.
Um,
I do like how all the different doctors are introduced with their own little. They've got like their own little subplot going on, don't they? At first,
yeah.
it's not three doctors where they're thrown in straight away. You know, they get a bit of time to breathe by themselves before they meet up. And in the 10th Doctor's case, it's very nice to see him just, going on a fun, typical 10th Doctor adventure where he ends up in a bit of an awkward situation.
Yeah, his first line is Alan Z, so like, let's go. He's back,
Yeah.
which is wonderful. So after that, we have a whole bit of like runaway Zygon Elizabeth. So Snoggy 11 appears because a Fisher has arrived, and he's like, "Oh, this is where I come in." Arrives, and good old banter between the doctors. And
Mine's bigger.
beg your pardon. My synopsis is bigger for sure right now.
That is very true. Compensating for something.
Yes, but no, we're not going there. So this is where we have the War Doctor finally enters the fray, and we have some Elizabethan guards taking the doctors to the tower because Clara's really bad at being a witch, prattling mortals and all that. So we have the doctors devising their plan of escaping the tower, leading Kate and all them lot to go to the tower because it's a clever thing what the doctor's doing.
Yeah, he's left a little message behind on the wall, hasn't he? The 11th Doctor has.
Mm.
I think there's some wonderful witty bits of dialogue throughout, isn't there?
Yes.
Like with the Doctor's meeting, and you have the guard saying, "Which of you is the Doctor?" or "We're looking for the Doctor," and then you got the War Doctor just going, "This has all the makings of your lucky day."
It's great. Those sharp bits of dialogue. It's lovely.
Yeah. One bit that does throw me a bit is when it's wonderful when he's saying, "Which of you is the Doctor? Are you his companions?" as such.
Yes.
It's sort of, can you point me in the general direction? Part of me would have preferred if they maybe just pointed at each other or something rather than getting the sonic screwdrivers out.
I
don't. Like, maybe not necessarily pointing at each other, but just the fact that sonic screwdrivers are used to signify, "Oh, we're the Doctor," just feels a bit off to me. Yeah. Especially when you got quite a few Doctors who don't have the sonic screwdriver.
Yeah, that's true.
You just have 6th Doctors there, and you just hear an unzipping sound instead.
No, be gone, you prattling mortal. No. Oh dear.
He gets the sonic lance out. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Recovered it. So go back to Day of the Doctor. We have like a whole sort of Zygon subplot entering the story of Osgood being duplicated because she was sent to analyze the stone dust, where we realised that all the statues have been destroyed. They could be Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy under there, but no, they are actually Zygons, and they are taking over the Black Archive as the Zygons want time travel with the vortex manipulator. Clara has the activation codes and is sent back to good old Elizabethan England and frees the doctors from there because they didn't check if the door was actually locked. It's all. Yeah. I think that's such a nice little funny moment though in the story that I really like.
Yeah. And it's one that makes sense as well with the reveal coming up involving Elizabeth. Yeah. I think in that dungeon scene though, I think is where you get like the main theme of the episode coming across, don't you? With the screwdriver being used to like calculate things throughout time.
Same case,
and you have
different software.
Yeah.
No, different case, same. Yeah.
Yeah, different case, same software. Yeah, there you go. And sort of that analogy with the Doctor themselves, how they are always the same person, even if they look different. Which
it's lovely.
Fits very nice thematically, and then obviously it comes back into play later on as well. But yeah, and then you've also obviously got the discussions of how many children there were on Gallifrey around that time. The man who forgets and the man who regrets.
It's all lovely. Because
Hmm.
Moffat's all into like giving characters titles like the girl who waited, the
Yeah.
impossible girl. It's a very Moffat trait.
What was Bill's? Did she ever get one?
I like chips.
The Chip Girl.
Chip girl. I feel like there's some poet one for Bill, like the girl who
Yeah,
dreamt
probably.
of stars, or not a star in her eye. That's heaven.
Uh,
I'm sure when
yeah.
we get to series 10, we'll
Yeah, we
rediscuss it.
might remember. It's certainly, if it is, it's not as iconic. But I don't. Yeah, I don't really mind. I feel like it's nice that maybe Moffat grew out of that for Bill
Hmm.
and sort of just
Yeah.
let her be her own thing rather than have a title to define her. But anyway, we'll get on to that.
Yeah,
Day
sure.
of the Doctor.
Um, Not the day of Bill. Yeah.
No.
Well, we do have Billy Hartnell in some
Hmm.
capacity.
I mean, he was the very first Doctor, so it's kind of the day of Bill.
Yes. Yeah. There we go. We're on track.
Yeah.
So this was all like a little thing by Elizabeth to see, how the Doctor is, and this is when we realise that the Zygon's full plan is in motion, but they are being transported in the paintings, aren't they?
Yeah, they're hiding it there until the Earth is more suitable for them.
Which is happens to be in contemporary London right now. So the Doctors have the same idea of going into the paintings. No, not quite yet, is it? Because they try and land the TARDISes, don't they?
Yeah, I think they go into the TARDIS first and try to land, but the Black Archive is shielded against it, we've learned.
Yes, because we have like the whole Ten and Elizabeth marriage
Mm. I think
thing.
also by this time, Osgood has found the real Kate
Hmm.
because she escaped the Zygon massacre.
That looks
And
very
then,
Axos-y, that Zygon tech in that. It looks more Axos than Zygon.
yeah, I can see that actually. It's a weird the way it interfaces with
Hmm.
Kate, isn't it?
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so they then head to the Black Archive, and you have this standoff where they are both going to, or well, the real Kate wants to detonate a warhead beneath London in order to stop the Zygons getting what is in the Black Archive. And so that is why the Doctors are rushing there to stop her because they got the space-time telegraph back from, Terror of the Zygons. Funnily enough, actually, well, technically Revenge of the
Revenge.
Cybermen,
Yeah.
but it's Revenge as set up for Terror of the Zygons, so it kind of works as a nice full circle there.
Hmm.
But yeah, so there you go. I think we've caught up there.
So Doctors stop all that because they do something with the Sonic, and when they don't know who's Zygon, who's human, and that obviously gets resolved. It may be in 2015. Who knows?
Yeah.
And this is when we have the War Doctor finally coming to the conclusion of who the person he needs to be. So off he goes, and off the Doctors join him in the barn to press the button. And this is where they have the idea of he doesn't need to do it alone. But Eleven's like, no, we can do it another way. And
I think it's
basically,
sort of like Clara who gives him the push there, isn't
yeah,
it?
but didn't think it'd be you pushing the button.
Hmm.
So then we have our lovely bit of the Doctors commencing their calculations. The TARDIS is all flying over Gallifrey, so the Daleks will be destroyed in their own crossfire. Gallifrey is saved and put in a pocket universe. What a absolute big fist pump moment that is in the story. And everything's all done. Doctors have a nice cup of tea because it's a British show. We've got to have a cup of tea in there somewhere. And off the Doctors go. War Doctor regenerates. Tennant wants to know where he's going.
And doesn't want to go.
Yeah, and Translaw in the ultimate grand scheme of things hasn't been brought up since 2013, so it's really been a big effect on the Doctor as a character. And then we're greeted with the curator, who was referenced earlier in the story, and it is none other than Tom Baker. So we get a lovely bit between those two, and it's sort of almost becoming full circle now with David coming back. So it's
Yeah,
really cemented the idea.
it's sort of funny how this episode both ties in with the previous 10th Doctor era, not just with, David Tennant obviously being back as the 10th Doctor, but also how it rounds off the Queen Elizabeth sort of loose thread in the Shakespeare Code. Which is sort of something that was just a fun little detail, didn't necessarily have to be explained. but it's nice how that was retroactively done here. And now, obviously, we're sort of looking forward to things now, knowing that David Tennant is also the 14th Doctor. Uh, and so that line about revisiting a few old favourites makes sense. I mean, how do you feel about the curator as a concept?
I really like the idea of the curator.
It's something I've come around along a lot more now.
Yeah, I like it. I'm a
Certainly.
big fan.
Yeah, certainly at the time, I was happy having Tom Baker there. It was a nice bit of fan service. But, there's also the fan part of my brain going, this doesn't make sense. Why
Where
is
does
this
he
happening?
fit? Where does he
Yeah,
fit in the list?
It's like, it's like, I know what you're doing, Moffat. I can see you're doing it. I know it's working, but I don't like it.
It's all fine.
But yeah, I've come to accept that now. I think partially with Big Finish as well. Them getting to build on the curator a bit more through Stranded and Unit Nemesis. Yeah, I suppose round off the synopsis. We're nearly there.
So we
It's a long
finish
way
up.
round
Literally, we finish with a nice
with our
little
details.
monologue of, because this is the good thing about Day of the Doctor. It celebrates the past, but it also gives the show a direction in the future about finding Gallifrey. As we have the Doctors all standing there, resplendent, awkwardly green screen CGI with face.
Yeah,
It's all fine, and it's a really lovely image. And one of my favourite moments in Doctor Who history of that, and the TARDIS is flying to Gallifrey.
it's an iconic image to end on, isn't it? Them all stood there on the clouds there, even if some of them might look a little bit awkward.
It's
Uh,
definitely one for people who were like, well, I want my classic Doctors in the 50th.
Yeah. It's also something, I suppose, not to be taken literally. It's like, in a way, it's a fourth wall break, I suppose. Like, I don't think there was literally an occasion in Doctor Who canon where they all met up on a cloud. It's more like a metaphor, isn't it, in a way?
Yeah, it matches Moffat's whimsical version of Doctor Who.
That's it, really. And then it cuts to quite a nice end credit sequence, doesn't it, with the Doctor's faces,
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
minus Capaldi. Because yeah, he did make his debut in this story. Technically, filmed it at the same time he filmed his Post Regeneration.
yeah, which is nice.
Yeah, and I think he's in the Matt Smith TARDIS still, isn't he?
Yeah, so I think Matt finished filming in October, so that's quite a little quick turnaround. But like, would they have had to get like a 3D camera, like, to properly do it, so it all matches consistently?
I'm not sure. Or would it work in 2D anyway? Because it's only a quick couple of shots,
Hmm.
and it's not like with shooting things in 3D. Do you have to shoot the whole of it in 3D, or do you shoot like the mainly special 3D sequences?
Yeah, I would assume it would have to be all done all together on that one camera.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's multiple cameras, isn't it, for
Yeah,
3D?
yeah,
Yeah, it's like you're getting multiple angles, so then it merges them together. But yeah.
yeah.
And I suppose they
No.
would have still had them lying around.
Hmm.
If not, I imagine it's not too difficult to do those quick little shots, like digitally make them 3D.
Yeah, maybe.
No, because I mean, certainly they did it for the whole of Deep Breath, wasn't it?
No, Death in
Oh,
Paradise. No, not Death in Paradise.
Death in Heaven.
Death in
Yeah.
Heaven, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Oh, I know why I'm thinking of Deep Breath because that randomly got its own release
Yeah,
on
with
Blu-ray.
Doctor Who Live, the
Yeah.
next Doctor.
Yeah, I feel sorry for anyone who bought that.
That's the only way you can get that Capaldi reveal.
Oh, well, they didn't stick it on the
No, it's not on Series 8.
Series state. No,
No.
I mean it's all on YouTube, isn't it?
Yeah, it probably is.
Somewhere, probably. Yeah. Oh well. I mean, you never know. It could easily be taken down the next day. So if you got it on Blu-ray or DVD, you've got it forever. Then,
Exactly.
unless you break it.
Support physical media.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, should we go back to Day of the Doctor? What do you
Yeah.
make of Day of the Doctor?
I'm certainly not as fond of it as you are. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, this is your last day on the marathon.
Yeah, there we go. You very much got the rose-tinted glasses look towards it, which is fair enough. I think
yeah.
you have a very strong connection with this one, and I'm not one to ruin that. And certainly there are other stories where I can admit I have the same effect towards them.
Yeah. I mean, it
I
does
think
have its
we will.
problems.
Mm.
I'll happily admit it's not a perfect story.
And I will happily admit it was I had a very good time rewatching this one for this.
It's fun.
It is, yeah, that's it really, isn't it? It is
Like,
just a fun time to sit down and watch.
I'm just thinking like the runtime, it's 75 minutes. It didn't drag. I just
Mm.
found myself like really enjoying it. I was like, wow, it's been 75 minutes.
Yeah. If anything, it feels like it could have been longer, really.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was a bit of a shock given that, you know, five doctors and now Power of the Doctor went for an hour and a half. And yet we have this only 75 minutes.
Hmm.
I mean, I think there are a couple of deleted scenes out there, aren't there?
But it's only like seconds.
Yeah, there's like, not much that really adds anything significant. Yeah, I suppose. I mean, a lot of my initial disappointment maybe was coming down to the thing of this only really feels like it's celebrating 8 years of Doctor Who rather than 50. Especially with like the focus on the Time War, that's sort of the divide between classic and new Who. And so with not much really looking back to before that, it does feel a bit cut off from that as a celebration. But I
Hmm.
will admit, I'm much less bothered by that now than I was back when I first watched it.
I think
I feel
maybe
like,
because you've got the hindsight of what Power of the Doctor did, but you
yeah,
get your classic Doctors in that.
yeah, but also I suppose just in terms of growing out of the edgelord phase.
Yeah, because I think when it comes to anniversaries, every Doctor Who fan's guilty of going. They've got a checklist. They
Yeah,
get all their action fixed and go. This is what I want from a story.
you're
And
always gonna want more than is feasible to get.
yeah, and you're never gonna quite get everything you want. And I think for Day of the Doctor, it's fine. It's good. It's if everything you sort of want from an anniversary story because it celebrates everything Doctor Who is really. It celebrates the character of the Doctor.
Yeah, that's very much it, isn't it? And it's also, I think, how Moffat views the Doctor, isn't it? Because he couldn't really see the Doctor being the one to end the Time War like that, and so it's him sort of retroactively having his chance to go back and change that. And I think it's also good to finally have moved on from the Time War in a way. It's just a
Yeah,
shame. Yeah. It's just saying that when it comes to that new direction that you mentioned, it doesn't really play into it. It's sort of like it comes back for Time of the Doctor, and then we're sort of moving on. It's pretty much like the show goes on the same way, really, for the next couple of years.
but it comes back in Hellbent because he's because obviously the Doctor going back to Gallifrey, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it comes back there, but it doesn't exactly change the show as much as they seem to think it did.
Well, I think because it was over too quickly.
Yeah, that's it, really, isn't it?
Because
Like,
you
there's no
have
build up to it. Like, you could have had a whole arc there.
yeah, because you have like the end of Series 8 where it's like I found Gallifrey. And obviously, it's just the Doctor lying to Clara because they're both compulsive liars.
Mm.
So the mission statement's there, but then the mission statement becomes the hybrid, and then it's like I've got to finish Gallifrey
Yeah, I
at the
suppose
same
that's it.
time.
I mean, and then Chibnall comes along and really finishes Gallifrey.
For now,
Yeah. I think that's the other thing. Like, in hindsight, it feels even more pointless now,
Hmm.
bringing it back. But yeah, I'm also, fan brain on again, applying logic to things that shouldn't really have logic applied to them. Like, I mentioned earlier how well the Time War was portrayed in like that early sequence with John Hurt's introduction. It feels a bit weird how it's ended on just one planet. Like, you're supposed to believe the whole of time and space, the entire universe is at stake here, when it's just one planet being attacked by the Daleks at the end, and then that planet disappears, Daleks are all destroyed, and apparently that's the event that wiped out all the Daleks and the Time Lords.
I think it's oversimplifying it really,
Yeah, that's it. Isn't it? I
uh,
suppose.
and I think maybe because all the Doctors were there, they were like, "Oh, we're gonna give it everything we've got because the Doctor's there." I think
Mm,
that's the logic the story's trying to go for.
yeah, true. But even though I feel like with the moment as the explanation for it, it works that that would reach across all of space and all of time
Hmm.
to just wipe out all Daleks and Time Lords. And I think it also sort of ignores what Russell was going for in that the Time Lords became just as bad as the Daleks.
Yeah.
And it's this awkward idea of like, oh, genocide's fine, unless it involves children, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Which, I mean, you know, it's sort of like, yes, the Daleks are genetically engineered creatures and such, but even then, it raises the moral question of if this Dalek hasn't actually exterminated anyone yet, does it deserve? Is it equal to a child of Gallifrey?
No Dalek can be good though.
Yeah, except for the many we've seen that are, well, the handful we've seen that are.
I'm not going to argue
But
with
yeah, I
that.
don't. Yeah, I feel like that's my main problem with it is this idea of you know Russell set up the Time Lords had become just as bad, but this very much easily forgives it. And also, it's only really the genocide of the Time Lords that is made to be a bad thing. Whereas with throughout the Ninth and 10th Doctor's era, it's a double genocide weighing on him that weighs him down a
Survivor's
lot.
guilt, isn't it, with those two?
Yeah. Because like even with the Dalek and Dalek, he feels like that somewhat level of kinship, doesn't he?
Hmm.
With them both being survivors. Yeah, well, in the end, at least. Certainly, there's a lot of other emotions going on there as well. Mostly hate at first, but yeah, I did. I mean, because with Khan, he reaches out at the end, doesn't he?
Yeah,
In
yeah.
Daleks in Manhattan, or Evolution of the Daleks, technically, to say, we're the last two of our kind now. Uh, yeah, I do feel like this sort of overlooks that and just says, "Oh no, it's just the Time Lords who deserve saving." When the end of time would say otherwise.
But he's not at that point yet, old David.
True, but he was at that point before. Like the whole reason for the Doctor wiping them both out wasn't just because he felt this was the way to end the war. It was because if the Time Lords lived on beyond this, then they would go on to conquer the universe, which, for whatever reason, they decide not to do in the end.
But I'm one of the nice ones.
Yeah, obviously, Rassilon's regeneration changed his mind about becoming superior to every other species. But yeah, I mean, we're sort of this is very much nitpicking more decisions made rather than the quality of the story itself, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean,
But
my
yeah,
nitpick comes from the previous story.
yeah.
Is the time stream thing, but we never saw the Doctor and Clara leave the time stream. Like, I get why it's not there because how accessible is that you're picking off from a story. What not everyone's going to see. This is one for Joe Public as well.
Yeah,
So
that's it.
it makes more sense just to go, here's the players of this story, let's move them around. Whereas, yeah, it doesn't make sense, but I want that to be answered.
Big Finish can come along at some
Yeah.
point, I'm sure.
The Time Stream Chronicles.
Yeah, not with Jacob Tubman though.
No, maybe with actual Matt Smith.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, I suppose with Moffat, he often like to do that at like the start of a new special or a new series, have like a fresh start almost.
Yeah,
Like with the companion not traveling in the TARDIS, because like it happens to Clara again in at the start of series 9, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Where she's not dropped off at the end of the previous series, but it is nevertheless the start of a new set of adventures for that companion. Yeah, that's just down to Moffat's style of companions, really, isn't it? Where they were like often dropped off and then picked up again. And I feel like Chris Chibnall kind of continued that tradition.
Yeah, I'd say so. He especially with like Ryan and like Can You Hear Me?
Yeah, that's it. They're sort of like they have their little journeys, and then she's like, "Right, same time tomorrow."
Yeah, which is nice in a way.
Yeah, I hope with Russell we go back to the actual traveling companion though.
Yeah, full time.
Like what? Yeah, like I liked when they just pack their bags and get aboard. Really.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's sort of. It was probably around series 6 or 7 that changed.
I would say series 6 because you get the start of Impossible Astronaut with like Amy and Rory in their house, and then and then God's Complex. You have
Yeah,
the
that's
Doctor
another
being
example.
given them a house, don't you?
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Whereas I like the Russell companions, packing their bags, getting ready to leave, and it's all like often it's a decision to leave because they want to get back. Well, with Martha at least, it was getting back to her own life.
Yeah.
Whereas with, um, I mean, Ryan had that decision as well, and Dan actually.
Hmm.
But even then, it's like they weren't necessarily away from their lives as much.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, we're tangenting here.
Yeah,
We're
we are.
talking about style of companions. But yeah, while we're on, which style do you prefer? Do you prefer being dropped off, or I mean,
I think I prefer the constant, to be honest.
yeah, so, but I'm just going around. I mean, I suppose even in Classic, who you sort of had the dropping off thing with Joe and Sarah, I'd say.
I guess that's probably like the earliest example of it.
Yeah, but I suppose with that, it sort of makes more sense because
Yes.
it's feeding off of the Doctor's exile, really, and so by that time, the Doctor's home is unit anyway, even when he's got his TARDIS working.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that gradually drifts away from it. But by the time Leela comes back along, she is full-time traveling. Yeah, I think with that, they don't sort of drop him off per se, like you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose the closest with it is Planet of the Spiders, because Sarah Jane has a 3-week gap there before the Doctor turns back up again. Yeah, so I suppose any more thoughts on Day of the Doctor?
John Hurt's brilliant.
He is, isn't he? I think
He's
certainly,
great.
certainly you don't really get the sense that he's a incarnation the Doctor should fear.
No, yeah.
He's just doing a wonderful job playing a nice old man who happens to commit genocide, or doesn't in the end. But
I just think expanded media is where the War Doctor lies best. Like my favorite War Doctor stories, Engines of War. I still think that's the best bit of War Doctor goodness we can get.
I mean, that came out like right after, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
The 2014.
Yeah.
With the special weapons Dalek on the cover.
Yeah, it's lovely. The temporal Dalek, actually.
Oh, is that what it's called?
Yeah. But I mean, everyone's special weapon is fine.
I mean, it's a temporal weapon and it's special, so there we go.
It's great.
It's
David Tennant's hair's annoying. Like
Matt Smith's eyebrows are annoying. Or lack thereof.
They're non-existent, so they can't be annoying. Yeah, it was just fun having David back because
he bounces off Matt Smith so well, doesn't he?
They're very similar Doctors when you put them together.
But it doesn't feel wrong, does it?
Yeah, they work well.
Yeah, I think it's like that thing of sometimes you got the opposite attracts thing, and that certainly works very well with the third and second Doctor when they're together. They make a very good pair because of the friction between them. I think these Doctors thrive off their similarities.
Yes.
Also, their differences still spark some interesting moments too.
Yes, like how can you forget about the children? Yeah, because obviously so many years has passed. Because like 10's 904 in this, and 11's like 1200 years old in this.
Yeah, 13 I think, isn't it? Because 400 year. Yeah, because he had like the 200-year gap with Series 6, and then there was another 200 years of him moping on a cloud in Victorian London.
Yeah, the Doctor's age is just a thing that should just be forgotten at this point.
Yeah, it really should. I mean, I think even the 11th Doctor even says, "Oh, I've lost track."
Yeah.
But yeah, it is very awkward how and supposedly in those 400 years the 11th Doctor hasn't aged,
Hmm.
but the War Doctor started off young and is now old. And yet in that time, very little time could have passed at all because the 7th Doctor is apparently 900.
It's just
So,
Time War.
yeah,
We just put it like that.
the temporal Dalek blasted him at some point. That
Yeah,
must be
for
it.
sure, for sure.
That's it. Yeah.
Speaking of blasts, should we give a rating?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Because this was a blast of fun.
Mm.
I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I think I've been throwing the bone to you a lot, haven't I, recently?
Yeah, yeah, for
Sort of
sure.
gauging off of where you go. I think I'll go a 7, I'll say.
Okay.
I think good fun to be had.
So
How
that's
about you?
same rating as 10th Planet.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. All right. Because like I normally look at like what I've scored over and I'm like I prefer this to that.
I mean, yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, part of it is I don't want to say nostalgia towards 10th Planet because I don't have any particular nostalgia towards it, but it's more just general First Doctor nostalgia, I suppose. Like more preference for that era than the 11th Doctor.
Okay.
Or certainly Series 7, 11th Doctor.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, certainly it's more consistent than the 10th Planet.
Okay.
Because yeah, 10th Planet does sort of dip in episode 3, doesn't it?
I mean, I know which one I'd rather put on, but that's just me.
Fair enough. Certainly, yeah, I do feel like I have put on. Well, I mean, this is only my second time watching Day of the Doctor, actually.
What?
Yeah. It's just a lot of New Who, especially after Series 5. I just don't really touch that much.
What? I'm just a Moffat apologist, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I like Moffat.
Right. I have been changing that a bit more recently. I've gone back to, say, Oxygen. What's that? 2-part. No,
Under
two
the Lake,
two-parters
Under the
from
Lake.
Series 9.
Under
Yeah,
the Lake,
I also
Full Flood.
did Zygon Inversion and Invasion as well recently. So I'm turning myself around a bit there. I'm improving slowly.
Good.
But yeah, certainly when it comes to New Who, I'm much more drift towards particularly David Tennant at the moment.
Yeah,
I mean, he's in this, so
you've got no excuse.
yeah. It's weird. Growing up, I'd have always said, I like David Tennant, but Eccleston, he's more my Doctor when it comes to this. Nowadays, I am far more going towards David Tennant that much more.
It's that nice comfort, isn't he?
Yes. Especially Series 4. Series 4 is very comfort series for me. But yeah, what would you rate it then?
Well, this is comfort episode for me. So, I mean, to be honest, most stuff I feel like I've been quite generous, bar when we get to Colin. I am gonna give it 9 suckers out of 10. I like it.
Yeah, venom sacs in the tongue.
Yeah, absolutely.
There we go.
Absolutely.
Wow. There we have it. Day of the Doctor. Sort of a landmark, really, isn't it?
Yeah, we can just stare back at the painting of this episode and go, well done.
Yeah. And now 9 days to go. We're into single figures as we go towards Bad Wolf and Parting of the Ways. We're sort of returning to our point in the time stream now, aren't we?
Yes.
The time streams are resetting now as we embark on to New Who proper, I suppose. It's been an interesting journey, this one, and now it's just a solid run of proper regeneration stories. Because you said, as a regeneration story, this is a bit shit. I suppose we should talk about that. Since this is the Regeneration Advent calendar, we should have a quick chat about the War Doctor's regeneration in this.
It is, because I've been a big advocate of like what a regeneration story should be. It should be a celebration of that Doctor and why we like them. Obviously, it's a bit difficult with John Hurt because we've just been introduced to them, but
yeah, he's also sharing the spotlight with 2 other Doctors.
Yeah, it's kind of like, Moffat's very much a box set guy. He's like, I need this for my own fan brain. And I feel like this is one of those examples of, we have the regeneration, stop asking. It's done.
Yeah, it was sort of similar with the 8th Doctor, really, wasn't it? It was like nice to have that connective tissue of it all.
Yeah.
Was his thinking. But yeah, it would have been nice if a bit more had been done with this because he doesn't even get like a final speech as such. And I mean, would it have worked better if instead of Matt Smith getting the end speech, it was John Hurt and then going into the regeneration? I
And
don't.
you just see him like fuzz and just see his future and past all merging together.
Something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it could have been a bit better than what it was, just walking into TARDIS going, of course, wearing a bit thin. It's like
Yeah.
it's two references squeezed into one, isn't it? Because then you obviously have the ear line as well.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense, that line.
Hmm. Yeah, it's very much nodding at the camera there. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, it would have been nice to have a bit more going on there. Like maybe have it seem like he's been putting up a front before that, and then closes the TARDIS door and suddenly very out of breath and very worn down.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, but well, it almost feels like they were done shooting it, and then someone went, "Wait, why don't you just go and regenerate, John?" Okay, I'll do that.
It's giving John Hurt the Doctor experience in 70 minutes, basically.
Yeah, that's it, really, isn't it? And
Yeah.
also, there's only so much that can be done with it, and I think because he was only thrown in at this point, he doesn't really need as much for it anyway.
No.
Because there's no era to look back on here. There's nothing to celebrate. We're not saying goodbye to him as such. But yeah, certainly more than what we got would have been nice there for a regeneration.
Yeah.
Uh,
We'll have a good regeneration tomorrow.
yeah, we certainly will.
It definitely won't
Look at
be a weakest link.
ooh, it won't indeed. And on that note, goodbye.
Goodbye.